for March 13th, 2018 at 6 o'clock p.m. And I'd like everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, if you would you please call the roll?
Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Taylor.
Present.
Ms. Garrett. Ms. McGowan. Here. Mrs. Nominee, present. Ms. Keller. Ms. Cease.
Present. Madam Secretary and Board, we do have a quorum. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I need a second.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Is there any comments or is there any suggestions for the agenda?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to move the presentation of senior freedom security to just the end of the agenda.
Okay, we do have an amendment to the motion to move a presentation from sending people security to near the end of our agenda. Yes, sir.
So, I support that motion, but I would also like to remove the real estate recommendation from the agenda until we get the information from I think it's the electrical and stuff like that from the state.
Okay, so I have an amended motion. I have two suggestions on the amendment to the motion. So now I need a support for the amended motion along with the suggested amendments. Okay, I have a motion and I have support. Madam Secretary, you will call the roll, please.
Support, I can hear.
Please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Ms. Brown. Yes. Ms. Nominee. Yes. Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
And Ms. Cease.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We also have on item D is approval of minutes. What we have been passed out is a copy of closed session minutes. If you would look over those closed session meeting minutes before we ask for approval for all of the meeting, we'll do the closed session separately, and then we'll do the rest of the minutes together. And then if you would, please pass those closed session meeting minutes into Ms. West. I do have a correction on the agenda. If you will look at your agenda for February the 20th and look at your meeting minutes, the meeting minutes do say minutes of closed session, and it says meeting special session yet too. So please make sure you get distinguished between the two. One is a special and one is closed. As soon as you're through reading, board members, if you would pass down, and that way I would know how far along we are. Thank you. Yes, trustee Mitchell, on February 20th, yes, sir. If I could look at it without you disclosing it, okay, if you would mark it and, the fourth line, you say. Okay, if everyone saw the correction, okay, so we can make a motion and ask that this be corrected. Is that what you're asking for, trustee? Word change. Absolutely, okay, so I'm sending this to the secretary and make sure that correction is made to the meeting minutes. So we're fine with what we saw, we will pass this in. I will entertain a motion for the closed session for January 16th and February 20th. I have a motion. May I get a second? Support. I have a motion and I have a support. Any questions? And that is with the amendment, with the correction to that sentence. And Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll.
Ms. McGowan?
Yes.
Mrs. Mamedy? Yes. Ms. Scully?
Yes.
Ms. C?
Motion carries. I do need a motion for the regular meeting for February 13th, the special session for February 19th, the special session for February 20th, the special session for February 24th, the special session for February 28th, the work session for March 6th, and the special session for March 7th.
So moved.
I do have a motion, I do have a support. Is there any questions concerning any?
Everything's nice or something. And then who's supporting?
Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll, please.
Okay, Ms. Cully?
Yes.
Ms. Seeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Momini? Yes. Mrs. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries. Item E on the agenda, and we are so proud to have School of the Month, ACA, which is Arts and Communications Academy. And that will be Principal Greg Roseberg. If you would at this time, if you would come to the mic and you tell us about these gifted and talented kids we have waiting to entertain us tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight I have with me our 7th and 8th grade band, led under the direction of Mr. Nathaniel Cook. They will be performing 2 selections tonight, Snake Bite and The Tempest.
And I do apologize, my bass drum player wasn't able to make it, so I'll be covering bass drum for him tonight. So, just in case you see me disappear for a moment.
Okay, so, thank you for having us, and giving us this opportunity to perform for you guys tonight. I really appreciate it as well as the students, so thank you again.
Thank you, and thank all of the students. That was very, very, very good. And don't leave Ben Harbor schools to go home time. They were the students. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to say something to the band. Good job to the director. Thank you for staying. You from day one, you built the game. You guys sound like a great band. Kudos. I remember I went to Fair Plain. I played in the same band. Right? We used to have different uniforms, but hey, I'm so proud of you. Good luck, and I hope to see you in the Kitty Parade.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
What grade are these students?
7th and 8th grade.
Fantastic job you've done with them.
Excellent.
Because I know they haven't had consistent instruction their first year or so on band, so you kind of want the job.
Yes, Ms. Rose.
I have one comment. So you all came in at like 5:15. They actually walked in very quietly while the community forum was going on. Sat there, instruments up, sat down even for a few minutes, and then they had to get up and walk out. And it was almost, they were very intentional on what they did and not to interrupt the community forum. So I do want to applaud you all for actually being disciplined, having those expectations, following all of those rules and things that your teacher or your principal actually shared with you. It did not go unnoticed, okay? So appreciate that. You all did a wonderful job.
Okay, we will allow you all in 5 minutes. Okay. Oh, you're gone. Oh, give you 5. Okay. All right. Thank you all again for coming and sharing with us today. And again, we're so appreciative of our young people and of the discipline that they exemplify this evening. At this time on the agenda, we're at item F, and it is public comment. And we do ask that you give your name, where you're from, and you have 3 minutes. And we have limited public comment by policy to 30 minutes. So we're asking, is there anyone in the public that wishes to address the board at this time?
Hello, I just want to introduce myself to the board. My name is Joey Andrews. I'm from St. Joseph. I'm running for the 79th District State House seat. So I wanted to make myself available to everybody at the board. I hope to be able to learn from all of you about the issues that face the schools here and what I can do, what we can do to help. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Emma Kennard. I'm a resident here in Benton Harbor. And a few things I'd like to address is I don't think that they have books in the classroom. And from the beginning of the school year, I remember that they had books cost over $500,000. I'd like to know where those books are because they're not in the classroom. And where's the superintendent? Maybe she could give us an answer. Whoever's acting in her place, perhaps she could give me an answer. And I hate that when I ask questions, I've got to wait so long before I get an answer. They should be that when you ask the question, there might be someone else who'd like an answer also, and they can hear the answer here at this present time. And I'd like to know then, if she's not here, who's running the school? Is it Borough School? And why is teachers allowed to support the superintendents with signatures and everything during the school hours that they're supposed to be focusing on our students? And one other thing I do hear that one teacher here slapped out one of our children and choked her and called him a monkey. So I want that to be, me never to hear that. I wouldn't be responsible for myself if I was in the presence of that happening. It would be a big issue on the front page of the paper. So you all address those things. I don't think any teacher or anyone should be calling our children out of their names, slapping and choking them, because they're being paid to teach our children. And they should address these children with respect. And these children will behave a lot better. Thank you.
Ms. Carter, I have a question. Do you know around when that incident happened in Rugby Woody?
I'm not sure exactly. It has been spoke to me several times about this issue. In fact, I saw this particular lady at one of the meetings over at the other building. And this is when I got word that she had slapped and choked one of the children and had called a child a monkey. And then the superintendent knew of this incident. So I just want to address that it doesn't happen, especially in my presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard.
Mark Haywood, 1425 Union, Benton Harbor, Michigan. And once again, I would like to piggyback off of what Ms. Kennard said. First of all, this is a public meeting. And so there should be answers given in a public forum to address a lot of the questions that have been raised. Also, we would like to address the situation with the high school and third floor being closed, because I really find that kind of minute to have a floor that you put $1 million in that's not open. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So what is the gift behind having that floor closed? What is the reason? We have a lot of individuals that have came through here that has not had our best interests at heart. We full well know and understand this. But as I said, I will continue to go around my elbow to get it to my thumb to make sure that this takeover does not happen. We full well know and understand that this has been done with surgical precision, and anybody that falls in line with this, woe unto you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to address the board? If not, next item on the agenda is item number 3, and we would like Ms. Robinson, if you would take this item and introduce the gentleman that is now going to be seated at our table with us.
Good evening. We do have our MDE appointed mentor here tonight, Dr. Johnny Scott. He comes from Holt, Michigan. He was a superintendent there for many years, and I'll give him a chance to speak. He does like to call himself a collegial partner and kind of a critical thinker. So I do want to introduce him and then allow him to give him a moment to kind of speak.
I didn't hear.
What is that from? Holt, H-O-L-T.
H-O-L-T, okay.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Robinson, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to say that it's a privilege for me to be here on behalf of the Michigan Department of Education, working with Superintendent Robinson. A little bit about myself, as she alluded to, I spent the last 20 years in Hope Public Schools, 12 as a principal, and the last 8 as superintendent of schools. Prior to that, I spent 18 years in public education in Florida, Lee County, where I was a teacher, principal, and most people ask me, how did I leave Florida to come to Michigan? And I went to Michigan State, and so that's kind of how I ended up in Michigan. But I do want to say that I think that the district has some challenges before it, but I think that from what I've seen this short period of time that I've been here, you have a lot of talent, and I think together you can, if we put the best interest of everybody's children at heart, so come to those challenges. So I'm here to offer whatever advice or suggestions that I can. I look forward to my time here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scott, for being with the Harriers. We welcome your input. Next item on the agenda is readmissions. And if you all have had time, or I can give you time as the band is leaving out to look at the readmissions before we ask for support, motion and support.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to readmit student 52-3315 and also student 54-0079.
Thank you. I have a motion for 2 student readmissions. Do I have a second? Support. Any questions? If none, Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll, please.
Ms. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Nominee, yes. Ms. Scully?
Yes.
Ms. Seeds?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 5 on the agenda is business and finance and staff report number 1, and that would be Kim Lindsay from Greenwood.
Good evening, board. Tonight, in your board packet, you have the financial reports for January. And in accordance with your board policy number 6470, I bring the bills for January for your approval. They total $816,855.93. Most of that being in the general fund, $800,321.38. The food service fund had expenditures of $4,368.67. We had one expenditure in the sinking fund of $7,275, and the student activity funds had expenditures of $4,890.88. Once again, the total being $816,855.93 for the month of January.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Lindsay at this time? On the finance report, yes. Trustee McGowan.
How much money is left in the student activity fund?
I do not know that. I just got access to the chemical bank accounts this afternoon, so I don't know that number at the moment. Was a successful week. We were able to run payroll. The 3% refunds were issued last week, and the bills were paid last week. So that was my first full weekend in the seat without Ms. Gibbs being around. And biggest things were getting access to bank accounts, state reporting system, and such. So I think we're ready now to begin doing the real work of making sure we get you guys a budget amendment just in the next short period of time. Yes?
I'm gonna ask this question over and over, so hopefully somewhere you'll find the answer for me on the year-to-date budget. Under function 119, summer school instruction, why did we spend 665% of that budget? It was budgeted for 43,000, we spent 286,000. This is not the first time it showed up, but I've yet to hear a reason or a good solution.
And I don't have an answer for you tonight on that. We did actually pull the summer school report this evening before the board meeting to just see what the expenditures are in the system. I emailed that to Superintendent Robinson. And it does appear just from that report that the summer school expenditures were $100,000 more than were budgeted. So we will look at that, and I know we have Superintendent Robinson is doing the planning for next year's this upcoming summer, so we'll make sure that we just some good information before we get to vote on that.
And I didn't expect an answer tonight, but I have to ask it one more time.
Thank you. Any more questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
That's all right, ma'am. So could you also do me a favor and look up the Hobart CD to tell the board where that's at? Because it used to always be on our financial reports and it disappeared.
And I do have a spreadsheet with that number on it, and I will get that to you.
Any more questions from the board at this time? No more questions. Item 6 on the agenda, human resources, and
March 13th, Secretary. Well, so meetings, many meetings, we don't even know. When did you retire, Mr. Taylor?
I apologize.
It's okay.
okay. Mr. Lindsay, if you could read the resolution and the reason for board consideration, please, before we call for the vote.
The recommended action of the board is to approve the payments for January 2018 in the amount of $816,855.93.
Thank you. We do have a resolution before us, and we have a recommended action. Now I will entertain a motion for acceptance.
So
Do I have support? I have a motion and support. Any questions or comments? Madam Secretary, please start the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. McGowan?
yes.
Mrs. Monahan, yes. Ms. Cully?
Yes.
And Ms. Seeks?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda, human resources. And I believe Mr. Baptiste is out of town, and Ms. Robinson will be giving a report.
Good evening, board meeting. The subject is resignation of instructional staff. Reason for consideration, the board must vote to accept the resignations of the instructional staff. Facts and analysis, third grade teacher at MLK, effective 2/23/2018, with Ben Harbor Area Schools for 19 years, exit interview completed. Special education teacher at MLK, effective 3/16/2018, with Ben Harbor Area Schools for 2 years, exit interview completed. Academic interventionist at whole, effective 2/21/2018, first year with Ben Harbor Area Schools, exit interview completed. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the resignation of the aforementioned staff members and that a letter is sent thanking them for their service to the students and district of Benton Harbor Area Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. We do have a staff report number 2. We do have a recommended action, and I would entertain a motion at this time.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the resignation of the aforementioned staff, and that a letter is sent home thanking them for their service to the students and the district of Benton Harbor Area Schools.
Thank you. I need a second. I have a motion and a support. Any questions or comments? If none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll, staff report number 2.
Ms. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Mommy, yes. Ms. Gully?
Yes.
Ms. Seeds?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item 7 on the agenda, facilities and operations, and I believe that Mr. Leonard is incapacitated at this time, and who's here to do the department update? Okay, Ms. Robinson, if you would, please.
So, the facilities and operations department updates, the request for the state of Michigan building inspections for Fair Plain West and for Boynton, those have been moved forward, so we will wait for their information and then during those inspections. We did have a bed bug concern at Benton Harbor High School in MLK, and BioClean were called in. They did do their do a specific cleaning protocol, and you have the date there. And follow-up inspections have been completed, and they will continue for the next 2 months. Right now, there have been no additional concerns noted today. And then you also have attached in there the link to the inspection that was completed by BioClean after this.
So did it only end up being at the high school, and that's why it was treated?
Yes.
Okay.
And they did, because they set traps to try to get some, but they did find some at the high school. The next update is the gymnasium, bleacher and basketball hoops. There was an annual inspection at the high school, ACA and MLK. And that inspection was completed, and the athletic director has information about what needs to be addressed. Food service spin down. So during February, mechanical inspections were completed at all district food service sites, and this information is being compiled to direct modifications to the food service spin down plan for the remaining 2016-2017 funds. In coordination with Sodexo, there has been coordination with Sodexo to develop a food service enhancement plan for the district. Food service facilities and cafeterias to guide the development of the 2018-2019 food service plan. The HVAC system update. During February 2018, the annual CSD1 testing was completed at each of the district's facilities. CSD1 testing verifies that all heating system controls and safety devices operate properly and is required by the state of Michigan. Identified corrective maintenance work has been completed. The state of Michigan boiler inspections will be scheduled as required in the fall 2018. District metal detectors, event metal detectors completed their inspection and electric component repairs on the 6 Garrett 6500 walkthrough units. The remaining repair parts were ordered and have been installed. An implementation planning meeting was held on Monday, February 12, 2018, with Acting Superintendent Robinson and the building administrators of Benton Harbor High School, Dream Academy, and ACA. The site selected for installation of walkthrough metal detectors. During the meeting, staff reviewed the administrative guidelines, and that's listed there. We identified the next steps. We outlined the district and student communication plans. Employee training was provided to the student support and safety staff at Benton Harbor High School, Dream and ACA on Wednesday, 2018, and implementation of the Garrett 6500 walkthrough units is scheduled for mid-March, early April. And I know we're starting that plan with Dream actually next week. District grounds and sport fields maintenance. Rates for the 2018 season for services were verified and required insurance documentation was collected and filed for CR lawn services, mosaic property management services, and turf birds and bird seeds. Grounds and sport fields work is anticipated to begin as soon as weather permits. Repairs from snow plow damages will be addressed with means construction during March 2018. Public Safety Gang Prevention Grant, an RFP for the phone PA services upgrade and replacements was presented for review by Gina Lovelace in February. During the February meeting, the RFP has been posted and the bid due date is March 23rd, 2018. So the specifications are listed there and you have a link to that as well. At the bottom of that section, CSM Group has initiated work on the development of the schedule as related to the project scope and design specifications for the creation of safe and secure entranceways at the Harbor Area Schools facilities and security safety training recommendations. Additional information will be shared through the board memo.
Yes, sir. Yes, trustee Mitchell.
Question, you can go back to the grounds and sports field for a moment. I know that CNR did our lawn mowing last year. And I'm assuming this is a second year of a 3-year contract. So they usually bid 1 year with 2 1-year renewals. But the mosaic property management, I don't know whether it's coming into the mix as a vendor. DNR does the formal and the acreage long time. And Bob Heston does the athletic fields. So where does mosaic fit into the vendor issue with us? I don't remember approving that company.
That is something we will have to, I will have to check into. I will get with Mr. Leonard, have that in the board for the week on Friday. So
Providers with that board report and with the minutes for that particular item when it was approved by the board.
Trustee Taylor, you had a question?
Yeah. I have a question, and this is just going to be quick. It's concerning the metal detector. So when we look at the report, it states that some of the items are working and some they're getting parts for. So I think the district shouldn't wait until March or mid-April. Whatever you have working, initiate them now, ASAP. And then what you get later, you can add to the other schools, right? Because I think safety is a priority. We already seen what happened in Florida. We already had to steer around here with the school district across the bridge. So let's do what we have to do now instead of later.
absolutely. We're starting actually next week. We'll get those going.
In what schools?
Definitely Dream. Yeah, we have that plan for next week, and then after that, we're going to give that a chance to kind of work and see if there's any kinks that we need to work out with our system, and then we'll add another school the next week.
I mean, how many detectors do we have?
We actually have 6.
So we have 6 ready to go?
Actually, yes, in this report, they're already, the service, the parts were ordered, they were put in, and they've been tested, they do.
And
Why
also,
not, yeah, why not initiate them, 2 at the high school, 2 at ACA, 2 at Green?
The thing about it is, we want to make sure that we can do it all at one time. And we have to have the manpower to be able to go and address any complications or things that might come up. So we were going to start with Dream to get that going, to see if there were problems that came up and to be able to address. And then when we initiate the next school, we would have those problems fixed and be able to go to the next one. Kind of just doing a more strategic way of implementing it versus, we can go all in, we can. And that's fine. So just know we may not be able to address all of the problems that come out at one time with all of them starting school at the same time.
I agree with trustee, that we need to, if we've got 6 already, Dream is not, it doesn't need to accommodate all 6. So maybe we need to look at maybe the high school, and we need to be continually updated on any concerns, as far as manpower is concerned, because what we do is we initiate, but we never get updates. So we would like to, if that is the board's wishes, that we be updated on any complications with the wands or whatever is being used. And if we're having manpower issues, because we don't want to wait till it's not controllable or something happens to the equipment and we don't know about it until later, so we will be updated on that. Any more comments? Yes, Mr. Mitchell, please.
For the record, we spoke about this before, and the metal detectors that we currently have are going on, I think we purchased them 15, 16 years ago.
Okay.
And as we worked through the game prevention grant, new metal detectors were identified in that grant to be purchased. And to that point, the powers that we did not do that. So we're working on secondhand materials, and no matter how much you try to retrofit them, they will fail because they're outdated.
Okay,
Just for the record.
thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. You had your, you did. And that should be noted that the board did and was agreed to. The metal detectors would be purchased through, and correct me, and that has not happened. And what is the status of that request from the board? Because if this equipment is antiquated and everything will fail, but if it's to the point that it is not even predictable, then we need to do what we initially agreed to. Any more questions from the board concerning the metal detectors? Yes, ma'am.
I just have one thing regarding just kind of prioritizing the things. So we have on the table, we have the cameras that's on the table. We also have the phone system, and then we have the metal detectors. So if you were to prioritize, where should we focus first? Because I know right now we won't be able to support the safety grant. We won't be able to support all of that. So where would we look at first? Or should we wait until security or CSM, or I mean, how do you want us to go about prioritizing?
So there's a question for the board.
Well, I think if you follow the SEC report, I think they prioritize what we should do first, second, and third.
Right.
But I think the metal detectors are not cost prohibitive. But they should fit within $800,000, and really, if we get our $250,000 that we took away from us back where it belongs, we could certainly accomplish all of that.
So I know in that report, the cameras were like in the red first.
Yes, that's most important.
Trustee Mounty, are you not there? Okay, I thought you had your hand. Okay. So yes,
So, but I would say, so the report was done a while ago, and correct, it's steps 1, 2, and 3, but I would say in lieu of what just happened in this country, I think metal detectors, they should be priority 1, right? Because we already had an incident with a young lady who had a stuff in her bag, right? And so we don't want to see that again. So I would think that if we think about the process of what's happening, a young man brought a gun into the school, so, you know, it doesn't matter about the camera, but we need to stop what's coming into the school. So I think the cameras are important, but right now, in lieu of what's happening in this country, so far this year, since January, 18 schools have had shootings. There's 18, right? So let's not be known.
Yes.
Can students, can you get us a quote on what a walkthrough unit costs for 2018?
We do have a request for a walkthrough, and any more comments concerning that? Because some things you can do simultaneously, because both are important. And I do agree with both gentlemen here. We do need the cameras, but coming in the door is absolutely important too. We do know that is a manpower issue. Some things can be done simultaneously. So when can we expect a quote at the next work session? Ms. Robinson, you want to say, I'm sorry, Vice President?
I guess I'm trying to figure out, are we gonna use the existing metal detectors now and hook them up until, so that should be implemented right away?
Okay, Ms. Robinson, are you through with, Mr. Leonard's on the report?
Actually, if you all want, there are just updates to each building. Yep,
Are we satisfied with what we read? Is there any questions? Because we all have it before us, and if there's anything that you think, because it is a public meeting that you want to, you can choose an item on that report.
I'd like to know, President, what the time for influence levels is on the RFP for
If you would,
Do
ma'am.
you want me to address
Yes,
it now?
please.
Yeah, come on up.
Would you? Yes.
So currently, Mr. Leonard and I have been training with a company that is called Vigilon. It's the system that we have put in over at Green. And they have a tool that allows us to, normally this is bid out as part of, I don't know if it's A&E, Mr. Leonard can speak to that end of it, or I think it's been, we talked about into our facilities assessments. But we are using a tool to identify where our current cameras are and the angles and the depth that they can reach to get a clear picture. And then we will overlay that with what we need to get better coverage. And so we are currently working on those maps.
Do you have a timeline?
As quick as we can get I don't have a date to say by April 1st that we are going to have this out into an RFP. We feel it's more cost efficient if we can dictate in the RFP the types of cameras that we need and how many, because we think that would be a better place for Benton Harbor area schools.
One of the things I want to make sure the president is that as school winds down, at that point in time, I certainly want someone on board to begin work. Something that is not dragged on into late summer and then not being completed.
Oh, agree, absolutely.
By the time school ends, so.
Yeah, there's a lot more to learn about cameras than, because he and I are not the experts in cameras. We're just kind of learning as we go to know how many megapixels a camera needs to have so that we can see a face that is maybe 10 megapixels from 100 feet away. And there's all these, there's a lot of math behind that. And this program is going to help us identify the types of cameras and the level of camera that we need in certain situations. Whether we need a fisheye, we want to see 3/4 of the room, if we want to see just one door. There's many, many different types of cameras and how many megapixels you choose.
How many do we have, Mr. Lovelace, in the system now? how many are operative and how many are not operative?
Right now we have this all broken down by buildings. I know off the top of my head at the high school, we have approximately 74 cameras. I know of 3 that are not operative at this point. And I am looking to identify a funding path, and maybe it's the Safe and Secure grant to replace those 3. But there's a bigger update that needs to happen. So the software that drives our camera system right now is extremely dated, and I would not recommend it. So that's why we're working with this company, because we will update that software, because we can see what the software does over at Green, and how easy it is for the end user to identify somebody and be able to save time and effort down there.
So am I hearing that your plan is to reutilize some of the system that we currently have? Or is it to replace all that we need?
We will utilize whatever we can that's in the district. It would be too expensive to replace everything. We would go well beyond $1 million if we replace every camera in this district. So we will have to utilize some of our current technology. And most of the cameras in the district are now analog. We will be able to use digital.
Any more questions at this time for this particular item for Ms. Lovelace? Because we know she will be coming back for technology. Yes, you'll wait?
I'll wait.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Robinson, are you done with facilities and operations report?
Yes.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that it has a lot of details in it that we can read, we can have refer to, if we need to ask questions or be reminded of what's really going on. I appreciate the thoroughness of that report.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 8, instructional and student support. One item on this particular has been removed for tonight, and that's the real estate recommendation estimated cost. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Robinson and Mr. Scoggins, and that will be staff report number 3 and number 4. Sir, if you would, please.
So Ryan Scoggins is our curriculum instruction director, and he is going to present, and you guys have links all in your agenda, present data, our NWEA data, and our Ames web data for this school year. He's going to put it up to.
What are you waiting for?
Put it on the chair over here.
Okay. Good evening, board. So tonight I'm going to take you through some data, and I will welcome any kind of feedback, any kind of questions as we go through there. It is around reviewing our partnership agreement, and making some connections with where we are in WA growth-wise, our Ames web scores, as well as some math scores and we'll go through and kind of have a little conversation around those. All right? So. Okay, I can't see the side of my screen, I'm sorry. So I shared in your board documents last week, this board presentation data. If you have that open, that would be great. This is everything that we're going to have all the links to it. And so we'll start off with just a link to the partnership agreement. I'm sure you're already all familiar with it, but just wanted to be transparent on where we get the information from, and so you can come back and double check all that information. And so, as you're familiar with, the partnership agreement, it does have 4 buckets, like we like to call them. Academic achievement, student well-being, leadership capacity, and teacher recruitment and retention. This report will focus just on the academic achievement and specifically looking at the 18-month goals. And so you can see the 18-month goals are listed out by school. NDA, Dream, they're listed there, around 50% growth, kids being on a high level, and then go down to STEAM, and then down the hall, and those 18-month academic goals are listed there. You see those in your document? Excellent. All right, and so then, if we click to this big wide view, so this is a scorecard data that we have Julie, and I will butcher her name if I said it, Wobowski, I believe. So this is the outside entity that takes, collects our data for us. And so this is right off the scorecard. So what I want to call your attention to is each of these have NWA reading and then math and then Ames web. And then you scroll over to the right, you'll see where there's actually where we ended at the end of last school year, what our goal is for this school year, what quarter 1 looked like, and then what quarter 2 would look like as well. And so it's important to remember that Ames Web is a benchmark assessment, meaning we take that 3 times a year. Beginning of the year, which is usually September, middle of the year, which is January, and then again at the end of the year around May. And so when we have quarter 3, when that ends, we won't have any NWA data because we don't take that assessment then. And so we'll take it again in May. And so what you'll see here, these goals in the gray box well, sorry, that's a little fuzzy for me. It's not as big as I thought they were. So what you see there is in the first box, you'll see where 2017 at the end of the year, we were at 39% of our kids who were on grade level, who were growth target. There was no quarter 1. And so quarter 1 results, so we can have a goal for that because our partnership agreement calls out what our goal is. And so quarter 1 results says that we're 46%, and then quarter 2, we were at 37%. And so I'll give you just a minute to kind of review those for yourself and answer any questions you might have around those.
I'm trying to figure out what you just said.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this 2016, 2017 results at the end of the year.
Correct.
And you're saying that the percentage meeting on screen post target was 39%. Those students 1.25, 29%, but the difference in 39 and 50 is 11. So that's not a 15% growth. So I'm trying to figure out if the goal ends on the 50%, but it was 39 the previous year, how does that make up for the 15% growth?
Say that again. I'm a little confused myself. So
yeah, like this isn't like I don't read the data daily,
Sure.
So you're saying that if there is has to be a 15% increase from the previous test results, right?
No, so the way the partnership is done is from 2017, when it was written and signed, I believe that was May of 2016, April or May of 2017, when it was signed. Those are numbers that we have to grow from. We're gonna have to grow 15% each year from whatever our benchmark was in May of 2017. Then in 18 months, which is January of 2019, we have to grow 15%. We have to have 15% more students at January 2019 than we did in May of 2017.
How is this scorecard measuring?
So this scorecard is measuring our quarterly growth towards our big overall. So if we look back to our board presentation, and we see here that 15% of our kids need to be on grade level, according to the partnership at 18 months, which is that December, January 2019 date. Okay? And so if we then look at our scorecard and go down here to the third line that says number of percent of kids that are in grade level norms. And so our target's 15%, as called out by the partnership. And so if we scroll over, we'll see that at 2016, 2017, at the end of the school year, we were actually at 12%. And then quarter one, we were 11%, so that's in September, we were at 11. And then at
6%.
I'm at 12%.
Teacher 12 for the reading, but then the math is 6.
Math is 6%, so you're down to that, yes.
So I'm
So
just
they-
going over the partnership agreement. So that's 6%, we gotta grow 15%, why would we go with 15? When you, 15 from 6.
Yes. Whatever that goal was, whatever the number was in May of 2017, which was 6%, math has not grown at all. We can say that the reading has improved a smidge, but the math has not grown at all. And I'll show you on this document that there are some overall test scores that show that math is really an area of concern in this district. And so when we look at this, you're right, Trustee Gully, that the math is not growing, and that is a concern for us. Because by December, January 2019, that math needs to be at 15%. Yes. Because currently, we're not there. So we need to get 15%.
I think something that might be a little bit confusing for us is we've got percentages on growth, and then we have percentages at grade level norms. Actually, the partnership agreement is looking for the percent at grade level norm, correct? And we're just using the growth as a measurement to see how we're going.
Well, actually, it calls for both. It does call for how many students are on grade level, but it also calls for how much our kids growing. So our kids are behind. And so the partnership says that kids have to make 1.25 years growth. And then for the 3-year partnership, it has to grow 1.5 years. And so what those numbers show you is how many kids are actually growing. So if we look back to the scorecard, and if we look at if we look at the second row, so how many kids are making year and a quarter growth? That's the question. How many kids are making year and a quarter growth? And so currently we have 29% of our kids who are making the growth that's required. That's 1.25 years. And so if we look back at the partnership agreement says that in 18 months, it just says on average, there's no percent that's given. So in the partnership agreement, it just says on average, kids will make 1.25 growth. And so currently 29% of our kids are making that growth, that 0.25 growth.
Which dropped from
37% the quarter before, yes.
It dropped how much?
So at quarter one, I'm in the second row. So at quarter one, we were at 37% of our kids were making growth. And then quarter two, 29% of our kids were making that 1.25 year growth. Then the next line is the number of kids who are at a grade level. That's the one that NWA will measure and say our goal is 15% of our kids in each grade will be at grade level. And so currently we're at 12% ELA. In our reading class, 12% of our class of our kids are on grade level, according to NWA. And then if we look back down here, making fall to spring, we see where we're at the end of the year, we were at 25%, 33%, and now we're at 26% making growth. And the very last one from NWA, the very last line, number of students at grade level norms. Our goal is to be 15%, and we are currently at 6% for math. Questions about the NWA data? Where we are with the partnership. So for reading, we have to have 15% of our kids. We're close in reading. We're about 3% away. But in math, we are 12% away. Sorry, we are 9% away. So we currently are at 6%, and we need to get 15% in math.
So how will the powers that be determine what on average students who make 1.25 years program at NWEA?
Well, that's a great question, because there's a few pieces that when we were discussing this data today, that we realized we weren't very specific when the partnership was created. For example, on average, what does that mean? So that's a great conversation that we have to have a conversation, whether that's with NDE, whether it's with partners, whether that's a board decision, we're not certain. But just as well, there's a spot in the partnership that says, if you look down at Hull and at STEAM, it says proficient, nope, I'm sorry, that's wrong one. It says 35% of students will score at or above proficiency on Ames Web reading. So again, what does proficient in Ames Web reading mean? So when we wrote this in 2017, we did all the testing by hand, and it was basically just reading some paragraphs, checking on fluency. Since then, that did not give us a great measurement of how we could provide interventions. And so then we purchased the electronic version of Ames Web, which now measures oral reading fluency, reading comprehension, and vocabulary. So now it measures more of the materials. And so now the question is what does it mean to be proficient? Is that the overall score? After you average all three of those, or is it just one particular piece? And so that's a conversation we'll have to have as well around what does proficiency mean. For us, in my mind, proficiency is that overall score. So taking the average of vocabulary, reading comprehension, and oral reading fluency, and measuring those and seeing where they are. But again, that's going to have to be a conversation for all of us to have. Whether that's a board, that's NDE, that's partnerships, that's something that's a little, we didn't realize when we were putting this together, some of this language was a little loose.
So what is the district doing so that we can ensure that the goals are met, since we have this data before us?
So the district is intensifying interventions. So when there was a change made a few years ago and the LLI program was dropped, so were all the interventions were dropped. So it's been a number of years since interventions have been done, as I understand it. And so we're really making a new focus to reading interventions and math interventions, and that will help bring our kids up as well. And so in the calendar, in the daily schedule, teachers have 90 minutes of reading. That's our core block. That's pushing kids ahead. Then they have 90 minutes of reading intervention. That's trying to fill in those gaps. And then they have 90 minutes of math block as well. And in that 90 minutes of math block, 45 minutes is moving kids ahead in current skills, and then another 45 minutes is the intervention piece, trying to fill in those gaps. as well as, so that's instruction wise, and so the other piece that we're doing is having PLCs, professional learning communities, where we look at student data and we have conversations about the way we're teaching, trying to be more transparent and trying to help students take some of the learning to make it active learning instead of just kind of sit and get class. We're trying to help teachers make that adjustment from sit and get to actual learning and trying to get away from worksheet driven and more into problem solving, more collaborative, cooperative learning. So that's just a smidge of what we're working on. Along with, along with instructional coaches, so we have two, and so with the two instructional coaches and myself, we are in classrooms trying to coach teachers, trying to help, trying to support the learning centers that's taking place. And so with the support of Meering and Risa, they have an additional coach that we're using currently. So, the success story is that we are making some strides, given the challenges we have with staff. We are making some strides, but we're not out of the woods yet as far as that math piece is concerned. We do have Meering and Risa coming along and helping us with the math instruction and offering some coaching. Go ahead, you have a question?
Yes,
Okay.
so the books. So you do curriculum and instruction, right?
I do, yes.
So are there books in the classrooms for the students that they use during the classroom day?
So there are workbooks, but there are not textbooks. This curriculum does not have a textbook. It has student workbooks.
So they work out of their workbooks at school,
Correct.
in the classroom?
Correct.
Okay, so.
Well, let me just say they should be. Now, one of the things that we have on our plate to start, I believe it's in 2 weeks, is a curriculum fidelity check to make sure that the curriculum is actually being used in correctly. So
And we're just now starting that.
we've been doing it, but this is an overall district-wide piece to really try and help us focus on what is it that's not being taught. Right?
Okay, so another question. So what math are we using? What is the title of the math?
So it's Engage New York / Eureka Math. So we're using Eureka. Now, we do have a new program we're using for our math intervention, and that's called Delta Math. And so if we look down at the board presentation, down to where it says Delta Math. So Delta Math was a pilot that we decided that, knowing that looking at NWA scores and MSTEP scores, we realized that math was some concern, but we didn't know how much of a concern, right? We didn't know where the concern was. So we started this Delta Math pilot, which is in NLPA 3 through 5. And it's very much like Ames Web, so you do 3 tests a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year, around basic skills that the state of Michigan, because it's a state of Michigan initiative, took these skills that we need in algebra and has broken them down to say, in this class, these are skills you need to master so that by the time you get up to algebra, that you're able to be successful in algebra. And what we quickly realized is, if you click on 3-5 fall winter comparison, that is the beginning of the year and end of the year measurement of math for NLPA.
Okay, so what is Carnegie Math?
Carnegie Math is not an adopted or approved district curriculum. So the way the district gets approved is, as I understand it, remember I'm new to all this because I came in September, and by the time I came in, the curriculum was already adopted. But as I understand it, the curriculum department, along with the help of teachers, bring recommendations to the school board about what the curriculum should be, and the school board adopts a curriculum. And so Carnegie Math is not one of our curriculum. It used to be, but in 2016, I believe, January 2016, December of 2015, this is obviously we had more of those dates, but that was officially adopted. Eureka Math / Engage New York was officially adopted as a district core curriculum. So we should not be using Carnegie Math. We should not.
Okay, so I know that My son bring home the math homework, there's no instructions. So the math that I did in school is not the math that he's currently doing now. So without the limited formulas or how to apply it or examples, we are stifled in moving forward. I have to go back to the way that I know. I can't teach him the new way because I'm trying to figure it out, and it's not really self-explanatory or user-friendly on Google because, you know, I'm like, I don't know.
Sure.
You know, what that is. So how are you going to help the parents when you send these worksheets home with nothing attached or no book with it? How are you going to help us help our child to advance in them? Because, I mean, you know, they come home with their homework, or they go different places to the Boys and Girls Club, and we have nothing to go by.
So the idea of new math versus old math, as long as kids solve the problems. So this new kind of course and read the math really has kids trying to break numbers apart so they can solve them. Rather than, for example, rather than borrowing or carrying ones, we try to have them add the ones column with the 10 column. So
actually, we're talking about like common denominators, like fractions and dividing fractions, stuff like that. I mean,
sure.
That's like kindergarten we're talking about. We're talking about 3rd, 5th grade, where it's getting in 10th grade, not just going to be able to solve it because I got to solve it for that test.
Sure.
So if the test is a reflection of the worksheets you're sending home, how are you going to help parents be able to identify how to work this out?
So I believe one of the pieces is with Carlisle's the parent nights and doing that, and we are having some additional math nights, and we will be having some additional reading nights as ways to develop and embrace parents.
So what about the parents that work past those hours and cannot make it? We have a lot of parents that work 3rd shift jobs that are off during the day, which those times aren't scheduled. What type of resources will we have? And parents that have to attend board meetings.
So we can send packets home. We do have some packets from Utah, where Utah has some really nice comprehensive understanding of Common Core math and how to break it apart, whether it's 3rd grade, 5th grade, or Algebra 1. And so we could send those home as well. I'm completely open to your suggestions, and perhaps you and I can work together to figure that out.
I don't get paid to work here. I just want you to provide me with the materials for my child when he comes home so I can help with his homework.
Sure.
I don't have a suggestion because I don't know what you're doing.
So that would be a limitation of this curriculum. I would agree with you with that, yes.
Yes, Trustee McGowan.
Now, you need to backtrack.
Yes, ma'am.
You said interventions, regular classroom teacher schedule. Can you go into more in detail on the classroom teacher? What help are you giving them?
So the coaches and myself, so at Hull, I'm meeting with the teachers every 3 weeks to look at their student data and to plan with them. We're using a site called FCRR, Florida Center for Reading Research. It's put out by Central Florida. It is all about interventions. It's small group interventions. And so we're helping them plan with that. One of the obstacles that we currently have is we do not have an intervention program or box ready kit, where teachers can say, so this is what kids need, and so we just go to the box and we open up and do it.
I'm kind of confused. I
Okay.
thought, when we hired these people, we hired for, that help.
So what
So
people,
are you talking about the interventionists, the academic interventionists? So they're actually working and pulling out students or pushing in, working specifically with students on trying to close the gap.
So again, I'm a classroom teacher. Are any of these people pulling out a group of my kids on a regular basis?
they are, well, they were. The resignation you got tonight was from our interventionist at Hull. And our interventionist at MOK is a part-time student, part-time person, so they are pulling out. I can tell you that Hull worked with as many as 55 kids.
On a regular, I mean, I know.
On an everyday basis, seen them, and she had a tiny schedule, or a schedule that said that she saw these kids and exactly what she was working on. And MLK, their interventionist also has a schedule, but because she's half-time, she doesn't see nearly the 50, she sees 20 of those kids. And so as you're a classroom teacher, you're working on, we identified, for example, in the beginning of this year, 90% of our kindergartners, first graders didn't know letter sounds and ID, letter ID, so that was an intervention that we worked on, and so I met with them, each of them individually for an hour, took me 2 days, to work with them, look at their data, to go through Florida Center for Reading Research and pick out activities that they thought they could actually do. And so by that, we've actually seen our data grow, our kids become improved.
I'm still, sorry. I'm confused and I guess I'm kind of horrified. I was a classroom teacher in this district, and it sounds like instead of going forward, we're going backwards again with us not having textbooks, with not having a basal reading program, with reading books, with workbooks, and especially since we have a very difficult time keeping teachers, keeping subs. At least back then, we had books, we had workbooks that, you know, if you were a sub, here's the book that you start with, and here's the workbook. You know, a teacher's manual, at least, you know, we were on the same page or close to, and it sounds like now we have none of that.
Well, there are teacher manuals, we did purchase them, and in the reading, students do have books that they're reading, they're not the big anthology books that they used to be. So they're books that kids will spend 6 weeks in reading various, probably 6 or 8 stories instead of the basis having 40 or 50 stories. And then at 3 through 8, we're actually doing novel studies and connecting to novel studies.
Yes, but I didn't have to go looking for ways to teach things. It was there. You know, this is what you focused on. Then you focused on this. It was systematic. I mean, if we're not doing that, how can our kids improve? They need consistency.
So this curriculum engagement, or either math or ELA, is the top rated curriculum as far as teaching kids the thinking skills that are necessary to pass these assessments. And so the days of reading a paragraph and talking about who identified the character or what color was the shoe, those are now have passed, and so now we're talking around doing character analysis and identifying some plot climaxes in 3rd grade. And so there's a different level of learning that's happening, which is compounded by the fact that we have such poor reading skills in the district.
And I've got to go back. I mean, when I had that series, I taught 3rd grade, I taught 1st grade, and we hit all of those things.
So you've been a teacher for a while, so you understand that kind of the pendulum swing. And so there was a movement to get away from basals and to do some whole literacy type stuff. We're not doing whole literacy, but that's the pendulum is swinging back toward basals now. So in a nutshell, I would agree with you that even though this is a top ranked curriculum, it does have its limitations.
Well, and we need to look at what works for our kids. Just because it's top rated doesn't mean that it's what our kids need.
Agreed.
And that is true. We are looking into that. Just remember, when we got this curriculum, we had nothing at first. All of what you remember, it was gone. We had, and if you want to go back down there, we had a group here from Cambridge, if you remember that. Everything that we had before Cambridge came, we had Hope Mifflin. And all of those products were taken away from every teacher. We had to go back through books, we had to level books, we had to do all of that hand-write, so it's like a little bit of our history. So then when something changed, I don't know if it was an administration change or whatever, but in 2015 is when we had to adopt something. MDE came in and we had to adopt something. So we had to adopt something that we can get our fingertips on right away because we had no curriculum in our district, period. So this is what the result of that is, because we had to get something and we had nothing for years. I know for at least 2 years, we had nothing. And so what we're finding now is that because we did have to adopt Engage New York, which is it is a very rigorous curriculum. And we're finding that we have to kind of fill in a bunch of holes and gaps because they're making a lot of assumptions in the curriculum what our kids should know. And so we have to go back through and fill in a bunch of gaps, which means we're supplementing constantly. And so that's where you're going to find teachers trying to find some things because they're trying to fill in those gaps that this curriculum does not do. They just make the assumption that kids know this particular piece and you're moving on from there. So as we've implemented this is our since 2015, we've had some time now to see the limitations, the challenges, and we're seeing that our kids are not responding to what this curriculum is presenting. So yeah, we gotta think about some stuff. We do.
And I'm appalled, I'm gone, this is 6th, 7th year. And just before I left, I mean, we had things in place and we were seeing progress. And to hear that everything was just exposed is awful.
You say taken away, what do you mean taken away?
That it was actually physically taken out of our classrooms. I was in it. Our whole method materials, our curriculum at that time was taken away and put into like a storage area. And so we had to physically go through books, label books our own. It was a whole balanced literacy approach is what they brought to the table. And we followed that balanced literacy approach, and we had to make up things as we went along.
Trustee.
Okay. We'll go back to math for just a minute. We're using Engage New York for Rita. And was Delta Math brought in to be an intervention?
It is strictly an intervention resource. So what happens?
But does it tie into is it compatible with Engage New York and reteach what they have learned?
Yes. It does, because it's all based around Common Core standards. And so both of them are Common Core standards. And so the way the Delta Math program works is if I'm in 3rd grade, I get tested over 2nd grade content to see what gaps are identified. And then during your intervention time, you're working on those gaps from 2nd grade while still in your normal core block, your normal 3rd grade math, receiving math instruction on what you should be learning in 3rd grade.
So even though the foundation has not been built, you're trying to build on a scrappy foundation that might collapse.
That's true. And that's the requirement of the state of Michigan and NDE is that if we're in 3rd grade, we have to be teaching 3rd grade standards. And then we have to figure out how do we help shore up those foundations, which is why we have an intervention time.
And so then obviously this intervention with Delta Math is not working.
It is working. In 3 through 5, it's not working as well as we wanted to because what we found out back in Ms. Billy's comment is it's not being implemented with fidelity. That's the big walk away from here. So on this MLK fall winter comparison, MLK took a fall test around the grade level before, and then they come and took in winter, in January, they took a winter over the same things. And so what you see is that the percents are going down, but they're not going down as quick as we want them to go down because teachers are not using them with fidelity for a variety of reasons. Part of it is just the challenges of having consistent subs in the building that make sense. That's a big challenge.
May I ask a question? Are you done, Trustee?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. On May 9th, 2017, there was a board approval and we had facts and analysis in order to support the challenges we face with math performance. Benton Harbor Area Schools is recommending approval for the Carnegie Math Program to be renewed for both the online subscription for mathematics. The cost of, and it says for grades 9 through 12, the cost of this portion is $192,120. Then I'm going down another paragraph, and it talks about Carnegie Consultant, 2 Carnegie consultants. That portion was $88,000. Then there was supposed to have been a math night that would be scheduled for families to make sure that they connect math between the home and school. That was $15,426,000. And then we were recommending the continuation of teacher training and support for the 2017-18 school year. And this would include 74 days of in-class support, and that cost was $148,000. And then you're saying that we never did this, and that those books that were purchased, or those support books that were purchased for Carnegie, are not being used in our system.
So let me just make sure I understand. So, May 9th, 2017, Carnegie was adopted as a high school math curriculum? No.
That had to be supplemental because our core curriculum, we could not have done that with a.
So the board did not approve this on May 9th, 2017?
Not as the core curriculum.
Not as.
The core curriculum.
It may not be the core curriculum, but it's a support curriculum.
Right.
And that is being utilized within the school district because we do know we have manuals. I mean, who got the manuals of Carnegie support? And we do know that the superintendent was able to go to Philadelphia and Florida with Carnegie. And this was something that I believe this board expected to be happening in the district. And now we're understanding that Carnegie is not part of our system at all. Am I correct or am I incorrect?
So I'm going to hand it off to Mrs. Robinson because she was in charge of those pieces. Because
so Carnegie at the 9th through 12th grade level, there are consultants that have come to the district to give support to, if you're talking about Africa.
And I can talk about Africa
Yeah.
in a month, but I just wondered about the 9th grade math,
The-
9th and 12th grade core.
No, they're not a core.
That's
It's
not a core,
So
supplement.
this is what we have to get clear with and be clear about the curriculum. Our core curriculum has always been Eureka since 2015, K through 12. That's the math, that's the Engage New York Eureka math curriculum. That was approved in 2015. This Carnegie math was brought in as a supplemental piece in 2017. So, and I know with the coaches or the consultants, we do have those are coming, and I know they're meeting. They started meeting sometime in 2017. I know we met over the summer with the consultants, and they're in the buildings working with the math teachers at the high school level. I don't know about the one ACA math teacher that we do have. They're working with her as well.
So the money that was approved on May 9th, 2017, that is what was spent from.
Yes. Now your question about, Madam President, about the, there was another question in that proposal.
There was the continuation of, teacher training, and there was manuals. There was a math night for $88,000. And no, the math night is $15,000. In addition, we're recommending the continuation of in-classroom support provided by 2 Carnegie consultants for $88,000. But the cost of the portion of the support, I guess, manuals or whatever was $192, $120, and then this board did approve spending that revenue. And so we're not using any of those supplements. Okay, that was my question. I wanted to know, and the answer is no.
Sure, the answer is no.
Thank you.
I wasn't aware that the board had approved it. Remember, I didn't plan until September. And I'm confident that we're not using it because in the summer when PACE guides were developed, they were developed around Eureka Math. They weren't developed around Eureka Math and Carnegie. They were strictly devoted around Eureka Math.
But the money was spent, that's just what I was just incurring, that we did spend it. We do know we have the manuals because we do know where those manuals are, but we're having issues with math scores. And so that is part of, we did not get that update, that what we approved was not being utilized within the system. That was the only reason I asked the question.
Sure. So if I may speak to the Carnegie coaches, we do have two Carnegie coaches. We have one who is strictly here at the high school supporting the 3 math classrooms, 2 is certified, one with a kind of a revolving door for a sub. And so that person is helping in that classroom with instruction. It is in the classroom instruction all day when she's in the district. And then we do have a gentleman who is only supporting ACA and the one math teacher at Meering. And they both are always in the classrooms. They're not out walking halls. They're providing math instruction in the moment, coaching, and they're also sitting around helping teachers plan for the most effective program, most effective instruction, and how to do assessment.
So then my next question would be with the manuals that we have that are not being used, because I believe I got a call from former President Taylor, where a student was looking for something. What do we do with manuals that we purchased and not being used? Do we send them back? Do we get a refund? Or what do we do with them? I don't know.
That was a package deal, no, we don't. So we need to use them. So that's what we, so usually, no, we do not send them
We
back.
cannot send them back for a refund.
We also got with that deal, with that whole package, you came the coaches, the books, and then also the Mathia X software is what they're using as well. So all of that was a bundle.
So I'm understanding our math scores can increase with all of the materials and stuff that we have available for our students.
Correct.
Because I am concerned that math is the key to success.
It is, yes. Other questions?
So, Mr. Scoggins, would you say that one of our basic downfalls for the math is no teachers in the classroom?
Absolutely. So as I talk with high school folks, it has been a number of years since you've had certified math teachers at ACA. And so I don't know that because I'm new to the district, but when I listen to people who've been here a while, there seems to be, you have certified folks from K-5, and then ACA and middle school is kind of where they drop off as far as certified math folks. And even if we had somebody who was not certified but had a great math understanding of concepts, and that is not there. And so while we have 3 math teachers at ACA currently, 1 is certified, the other 2 are subs. And so Ahmad is doing quite a bit of support for those subs. The data that we're collecting from the 8th grade teacher, students are learning and are making progress, and so he is providing like minimal help for her, while we are really trying to concentrate on the other 6th and 7th grade math teachers and help bring their skills up. Because remember, these are subs, they don't have any understanding of curriculum instruction, assessments, even all of the math content, that when you get to 6th, 7th grade, it is much more difficult than just adding and subtracting numbers. It is about fractions, it is about early algebra, it is about solving equations. So that is a concern, yes.
I would also say, acting with Superintendent Robinson, so one of our main fallacies we know is, not having a certified teacher for math, but also to follow the partnership agreement where it states bring in math. I mean, that's a affirmative action that we haven't done. So I think we know what to do. We have to do it. So we may get penalized later because when they look at the data, they're going to say, hey, you guys should, meaning the board and the school district, should have done this, and maybe we wouldn't be at 6% because the way the data looks, that's just a line, right? We don't see an uptick. And so that line is going to continue. I don't see how you're going to make 15%. There's no way. Watch, next quarter, we'll see the same 6% go across the board.
So, Mr. Taylor, just a comment that math and science teachers, not only in Michigan, across the nation, are in high demand, and there are many, many districts who are empty classrooms because of that challenge that we're just not reducing nationwide math and science teachers. So that is a concern for all Asian schools. But you're correct, if we don't do something wise, that's going to be. And so also if you go back to your board presentation, there's a couple links there that say reading trends and math trends, and you can go back as far as 2010, 2011, and see that the NWA scores are stagnant. They've up and down a number or two, but they haven't adjusted. They haven't gone up 5, 6, 12 numbers. So over the number of last few years, this administration, the prior administration, those numbers have just stagnated. math and reading across everything.
Trustee, trustee Dowling, trustee McGowan, and then trustee Mitchell.
I know that, we often hear the new part and the challenge faced across the US, but, everybody is not facing our circumstances. So I feel that, if we agree to accept the challenge, because coming in, we knew what this district looked like. So at some point, we gotta get creative in what we're gonna do as far as to help these students, because at the end of the day, the excuse is not gonna work when they close these doors, because our score is not increasing how they want to be. So when I took my teaching classes, they said teachers were creative. They knew how to adapt and adjust to students. So I'm waiting to see that talent displayed within our staff to assist our teachers to be creative with our circumstances and our situations, because we gotta kill all the excuses and we gotta try everything. I mean, it's like, all I hear is I'm new. After your 90 days, you're not new. You hired.
I'm taking some responsibility.
So, okay.
I'm just saying that your questions around adoption of the curriculum, I had nothing to do with.
Right.
But now moving forward, I can share with you that we are seeing some progress, right? So do we expect to see in-step numbers magically go up to 40%? No. But we do expect them to go from 0 to 2-3%. That shows that something is holding on. And so out of the box thinking is, we did purchase this Delta Math RTI program. Before this Delta Math program, there was no way that the district had not measured math in the same way it measured reading. So there's consistent reading being measured at beginning, middle, and end, but math, there was no consistent measurement of math to see what was holding, what was not holding. And so one of the creative things we did this year was to purchase Delta Math. An additional creative thing that we did this year was, not only did we spring down, so if I'm in 3rd grade, not only did I take a test that measured my 2nd grade skills, I also took a test at 4th grade that measured what 3rd grade content was sticking, so that now, when we go to PLCs and those professional learning communities and have dialogue, we can actually say, where are we in our pacing guide? Is there something that needs to be adjusted? Did we get this too late? For example, in 3rd grade, we recognize that fractions haven't yet been taught. So when we look at the 4th grade test results for Delta, kids are bombing fractions. Well, that's because they haven't yet been taught fractions. Typically, that happens around March, right about now, which is kind of crazy because you have just a few weeks before MSTEP. So it's some of that ongoing changing of the curriculum as we continue to move through and refine. So we are being a little creative as much as we're allowed to with MDE and all the other mandates that we do have.
You want to talk about how you structured advisory as well for the high school, from math to high school. So Mrs. Stars and Mrs. Smith taken out.
So this was an idea that, so in one of our pieces for advisory is that we're asking teachers to put this into 5 groups. And so advisory is paid for by our Title I funds. And so we put it in small group centers and kids are reading, kids are on the computer doing some math, kids are meeting with the teacher. So there's some center activities that they're doing. One of the ideas that this administration from the high school took was, given the fact that the algebra class is a revolving door, is during advisory they actually have their math teachers providing additional tutoring to groups of students in Algebra 1. So they're kind of getting, you might call it double dose or certainty or intervention during advisory. And so that was out of the box thinking coming from Mr. Pearson and his math team and his leadership team around how do we help how do we help supplant all this revolving door in Algebra 1. So we are being a little creative, not as much as we'd like to, but we are being a little.
So we should see that 10%, 10 points increase in the SAT.
This year? No, I'm just gonna say, no, we won't. But our goal is that we will see it in 3 years, right? And so the question is how do we have effective instruction? And so that's why we have those math coaches trying to help themselves.
Trustee McGowan.
Let's confirm from an elementary classroom teacher. You know, in order for our kids to be successful in math, they have to be able to read on grade level, preferably above, because, you know, all the problems, add, subtract, multiply, divide, they have to read. And if our kids are not on or above grade level, they're gonna struggle. And that's where I come back, we need a reading series, you know, that teaches reading.
Okay. Trustee Mitchell.
I just recall last year, a couple years ago, when we got into this, what Benton Harbor had pushed to do, as far as percentage wise, and some of us asked ourselves, who the superintendent, and I think that's the lofty goal that you're putting out here on these kids. And at that time, she touted the fact, no problem. We're going to reach these percentages and these goals, and there will not be any issues. Knowing that, at least us around this table know that our middle class students have gone. They're in other schools now. So we, whether we want to face it or not, the kids that we have now are in the lower percentiles. And to ask of them to compete against kids that are on grade level and above. And I think we've seen that in the transfer out of the district over the past few years. That perhaps, and I don't know how to fix this, but I know that you have to have teachers in the classroom to do anything. And we've been struggling with the same issues at ACA this whole year. And so these are the things we need to be talking to the state about. You know, I don't know if it's going to take more dollars or whatever to find some math teachers, reading teachers to come into this district. But other than that, you know, with what we got bamboozled in as far as these percentages and growth stuff, we cut our own.
If you were to just sum up everything that you're presenting,
So sum up everything. So reading, we're on track.
okay,
Well, that goal, we're 3% away from meeting that 18-month goal. That's not a real big concern for us. We will have to have some conversation around what does proficiency look like, right? What are we going to measure there? Currently, some particular grades, as many as half our kids are on grade level, right, according to the overall proficiency. But we are concerned around this math piece, trying to figure out how best to do this math piece. And so that's why I think we see a couple creative pieces in the summer school about offering some things during the summer. So that's a summary of that. That we are on track for reading, math is a little more concerning.
any more questions for our curriculum director at this time? No. And would you stay, Ms. Robinson is asking for the summer school possible?
I will stay.
Okay, so thank you. So
Can I
right
mention
there.
one more thing though?
Oh,
As we talk
absolutely.
around the idea of math teachers, we also need to think about how we support them in the classroom and thinking around instructional coaches and having people who are really experts in instruction come around and help those coaches also in the classroom who are instructing. Currently, we only have 2 plus myself, and so we have a budget of 5. We just can't find those. So while we're also struggling with math folks, we are also struggling with those instructional coaches around people who do know how to best use data and instructional pieces. So, it's kind of
No other questions for it? Okay, if we're going to summer school. Okay, so we go to the next item on the agenda for instruction and support. Staff report number 4.
Staff report number 4 is,
Now, that's the real
sorry,
estate.
number 3.
Number 3.
Staff report number 3, Benton Harbor Area Schools 2018 summer school programming, reason for board approval for high school students, summer school age students. Summer school gives students an opportunity to improve core grades, and for all students, it provides opportunities to improve basic literacy and math skills. Facts and analysis data evidences that Benton Harbor area school students need additional opportunities to engage in reading, writing, and math. Summer school provides these opportunities as well as others such as credit recovery. Benton Harbor area schools will host summer school programs for students entering kindergarten through 12th grade in the fall of 2018. 21st Century will partner with Benton Harbor area schools for this program. The classes will be held in different buildings during different weeks to help facilities get into the buildings for summer cleaning and repairs. The program will run June 18th to August 17th on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of each week. Times will be 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The estimated cost for the program is approximately $150,000, which will be title funded. We have the board policy reference numbers there, and then the recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the Benton Harbor Area Schools 2018 summer program.
We do have staff report number 3 before us, and I will ask for a motion for staff report number 3 at this time.
All right, make a motion that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the Benton Harbor Area Schools 2018 summer program.
We have a motion on the floor. I do need the support.
Support.
They have a motion and support. Any questions or concerns at this time concerning summer school? Yes. Trustee Norman?
Okay, first off, in this proposal, Jumpstart Summer School Program, focus on jumpstarting student learning for the next grade. Students would be promoted to the next grade level to begin learning skills for that grade. If at the bottom it's saying that we're going to take students that didn't master their current year's skills, it's not worded in that way. Why are we jumpstarting into the next year's skills? Why aren't we working on what they didn't get this year?
So we would be working on those remedial skills combined with teaching and connected with the new skills. So it wouldn't totally be, so if I was going to 4th grade, I wouldn't just start working on fractions because that's what we start with. We'd actually start working on adding, subtracting, reviewing those pieces. But it is the idea of jump starting, getting a few extra days of learning in over summer. Instead of being remedial, we're trying to take an out-of-the-box approach and attract more parents by saying we're trying to help get kids prepared for next year instead of just always working on remedial. We're trying to be proactive and thinking, how do we get more kids into summer school to allow us to help them? And the idea of jump-starting your learning for the next year is one of those creative ideas.
Okay, so do we have any stats, data, one of my favorite questions, on previous summer schools and how many students attended? What did it cost us? And what kind of growth did we get out of those students that attended?
I do believe that request went into Ms. Robinson today, and she should have some information.
It seems like every year we change our idea what summer school is without knowing what the previous year did or did not do.
Correct, and I share this document with President Seats. The one thing that I don't have on here as of yet is our NWEA. We took a summer NWEA piece last year, and I just did not pull that. So I will have that attached to you in your board memo, and as well as this information. So last year we had a total of 347 students to go through summer school, K through 12. And then there was a question about how much time do we spend on academics. So it was a 3-hour program. We spent an hour and a half on academics for the 3 days that we were there. The other hour and a half was spent with 21st Century. Last year, it was proposed to us that we collaborate more with the 21st Century, where they kind of come and join in their academic piece. So it was 1 hour and a half for academics and an hour and a half for enrichment, 3 days a week. And then it was a total of 17 days for summer school. The cost of that, and I got this information, so the cost of the total program was $286,324.45. And like I said, I'll attach the NWEA information to this document.
Did the students show growth, and if so, how much?
with the NWA data, I would be able to show you, give you that, because it was a summer NWA. So once I put it up.
You got that separated in the power school so that you can pull up the ones that in summer school?
So this wouldn't be Power School, this would be the NWEA website where I'll be able to get that data from. And then the attendance piece, we couldn't do that in Power School. So we had our own spreadsheets of attendance.
And who proposed that you collaborate more with the 21st century?
At that point, yeah, at that point, it was Julie Earl who initiated this collaboration.
Based on what data show that it would improve the program?
There was no data to show that it would improve. So when the proposal or the idea came about, there was no data. That was an idea that was given to leadership and it was moved forward.
And if someone else wants to jump in, and I'll come back later, but I'm hogging the floor. We got a $150,000 budget. Yeah, last year we spent over $200,000. Do we have that $150,000 left in the budget? And staffing dependent on number of students registered. This is, to me, is iffy. What are we going to spend? How much are we going to spend on staff? How much are we going to spend on materials that better not get left in a school building for the next 9 months? I think we need to crack down on what we're doing and just throwing out ideas. Let's try this. Let's try that. We need to get serious about this and do what is data-based, is proven to work, not this sounds like a good idea.
Well, you are absolutely right, Trustee Mami. So today in our meeting, I did host a meeting with Mr. Scoggin, Ms. Earl, and Ms. Baptist, and we are really cracking down on what we're doing and how we're doing it. So the plan that is here, it's to me, even with me last year, I worked with, planned with the group for summer school. I think it's a much more sound program, sound proposal than what I did, like what I did last year. I will say that. And then what we did decide is that we are going to separate the 21st century from the summer school program so that we can have two separate sets of data. And that our academic focus will be our academic focus. So yes, cracking down, we do have to. And then also, Brian is taking the NWEA data, and we are really focusing on those tier 2 and tier 3 students with that. And if we can get it going and actually approach some of the parents now at the summer at their parent-teacher conferences, we'll be able to get those parents to go face-to-face, say, hey, your son or your daughter is being recommended for summer school. We'd like this person to go, your child to go, and we'll be able to hopefully get parents to sign up right now. It seems like the sooner that we can get registration open, the sooner we can get a handle on the dose.
So if I may, let me correct Mrs. Robinson just with one statement. We're not using NWA because that's a one snapshot all year. We are going to use Ainsworth and the Delta now to really target our struggling students for summer school. So it's going to be a much better process of actually identifying students and then offering them assistance instead of just kind of open to whoever wants to show up. There really is a plan, but we have to wait until we actually start seeing how many students apply. Because we want to make sure we employ enough staff for enough students. And so the earlier that we can get out and start promoting summer school, my goal is to have summer school nice and wrapped up in a package by Memorial Day. That's a whole month earlier than when it should start. And my goal is to have teachers hired about the middle of May to the end of April to the middle of May. So these are just some kind of framework and some ideas, and to have a nice and package within a month after we start promoting it. Right now, we're just looking for your approval so we can start promoting it with parent-teacher conferences this week at ACA at middle school.
You partially answered my next question. You said this plan is more sound than the last year. In what ways is it more sound?
Well, to me, it's the people at the table. We've met a couple times already. And then also scripting out where it is grouped with like 2 weeks at a time and what you're doing in between. Also thinking about bringing parents on board, we did not do that last year. And how we're going to possibly have a parent conference at the end of each 2 week session. So, it's, to me, again, I did the plan last year, so it is very solid.
I have a question. So last year, you guys spent 17 days for summer school, correct? So if I'm looking at the data correctly, it went from 17 to 11.
Is it 11 days? 16,
18 days.
18 days for this year.
So for example, session 1, June 18th through the 29th, right? It's not 18. And so then so I don't know, how do we get 18 days?
Because each session is 6 days, so there are 3 sessions of 6 days. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's session 1. Then same thing in July, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday the next week. So then in August, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, session 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So you don't go by days? For example, from June 18th to the 29th, that's a session.
We're counting instructional days.
You're counting instructional days?
Yes.
Okay, that's what.
And so-
That's what that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would assume that's what Mr. Robbins was talking about, 17 or 11 days last year was instructional days, not necessarily counting days.
Well, it was 17 total instructional days last year.
Now we added one more day.
Okay. And so we usually just do a 6 week block. But yeah.
And so we're talking about a budget of 150,000. I think if that's your budget, you don't add any more. So you just look at the students who need the academic assistance and you stop it right there, right now. Correct. If that budget gets lower, that's okay. I mean, based on the student count, but to Secretary Romney's standpoint, I'm sorry, from what she stated, we don't go to 200,000, for example, and waste our budget, right? We have a budget, we go by the budget. And last thing, and I'm gonna move on. Mrs. Momini addressed the question I had, why 21st century? Because if last year we were given 1.5 hours to academia, 1.5 hours to kind of like play time, that's me. It's playtime for me. Why not give 3 hours to academia and increase our educational efficiency and effectiveness? So I think the playtime's out. If we want to play, we got to go to the park, but if we want to learn, we need our academia to reach the next level.
Agreed. That's the next part. We need until the 21st out, 24 hours of academics.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? I do have a policy, and it is policy 6111, and it is internal controls. And the policy reads, the superintendent shall establish and maintain effective internal controls over financial grants and awards and purchases made with federal, state, and local funds. This is Title I, if I'm correct, that provide reasonable assurance that the program and funds are managed in compliance with applicable statutes, regulations, and the terms and conditions of the award. I would also like to suggest to the board that we add within that policy, the school board shall maintain oversight of all academic programs and projects and fiscal expenditures projects for the school district, so that next year there is no questions of how the money was spent, what we should be getting updated reports either quarterly. We should know at a board meeting how many attended, how many were successful, because it's out of sight, out of mind. And so we add this in that we maintain, according to our responsibility, oversight of all academic programs and projects, so there's no surprises later, and fiscal expenditures, so that we know what actually was spent versus what was requested. And we talk about the Carnegie books and stuff like that. And also, we need a procedural manual aligned to the policy that outlines how to properly submit a proposal, purchase for the proposal by the school board, which aligns the proposal and purchase with the partnership agreement. Because we're telling the partners we're gonna do certain things, and we don't have any oversight, and nor are we following policies and procedures. So we can eliminate some concerns, even with the partners, that we're maintaining a certain amount of oversight. 'Cause all the questions tonight showed that the board was not informed of certain progress among spending and expenditure. So I would like that the board consider that that is put into policy 6111 for internal controls. It is. I'll give it to you. All right. So any more questions or, yes, trustee?
I can talk loud. I got big loud. So, so the question about 21st century too is, how is that funded?
They have a 21st century grant.
So they have the grant.
They have their own, yes.
So even if they're there for summer school, it's coming out of the grant and not that 150,000 Title I.
Correct.
So I think that's another thing that we need to know too. How well is 21st century working? I think that's for the next meeting. That's something we need to ask, right? Because is it outcome based or is it just we're doing something? Right? Because I remember we had other programs come in and they feed the kid, and that's about it, right? So if it's not any substance, and I don't mean for the stomach, I'm talking about for the mind, then I don't know if it's needed.
And that does go along with the internal control. And have no suggestion that we do that so that we maintain transparency for the public and also for our own self, that we include this in that house. We'll always have oversight as a board, what is spending, what comes in, and how is it spent. So, any more questions for Brian, who's anxious to go for the summer school?
I'm looking forward to the questions, that's mine.
If there are no more questions, thank you for the update.
Feedback on the data summary, because as I understand, our goal is to continue these conversations monthly. And so, you know, I'm open to your feedback about what works best in this data summary, particular pieces that you're interested in seeing, how you might like to see that communicated more frequently and in a different way, right? So, any feedback currently, or would you just like to get with Mrs. Robinson and use that?
Mrs. Robinson, I think in the past, the curriculum director was at the table. So I think if you're at the table, and then, you know, you can have a line out of each meeting to present some of the facts and analysis of that data. Because when we don't see it, right, we don't know this, but if you're at the table, then we can see this firsthand.
All right, now it seems like it's a little other comments?
We do like a well-informed board, so thank you so much for the information.
Thank you for your time, board.
Okay, at this time on the agenda, we did have to move down. I'm sorry. Thank you, trustee, for keeping me on track. And we are at staff report number 3. And I would ask that, Ms. Robinson, if you would, give us the recommendation.
The recommendation is that, that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the Benton Harbor Area Schools 2018 summer program.
Okay, we do have a recommendation. We have facts and analysis before us. I'm entertaining a motion. And support with these questions, and let's vote. Trustee.
All right, let's do it. Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Ms. Seeds.
Yes.
Ms. Belly.
Yes.
Mrs. Nominee, yes. Ms. McDowell.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. We do have an item on the agenda that we did have to move down, and we're going to ask, I believe it's, I don't want to mispronounce it. It is Ascendi Private Security. Am I correct? Okay, you'll fix it. And these are Benton Harbor alumni, and they would like to do a presentation before Benton Harbor Board tonight. Thank you. you all for being here. Thank you for remaining.
We have a little printed out information for you. We really appreciate you having seen this evening. Okay, first off, my name is Chauncey Kirkendall, and I'm with Ascend Private Security, and I'm located in Northern California, Bay Area. My company has over 25 years of security experience. And as you can see with some of the information, pretty thorough what we did. I had a long list of things to talk about. However, I learned don't make the people happy twice. Once to see you done, and the other to see you sit down. So I'll keep this brief. As a Benton Harbor alumnus from 1989, I keep up with what's going on in the area. So a lot of the security issues that the local schools have and stuff like that, whether it's streaming online or from the Herald Blade online, I'm kind of staying in tune with that. My security company, we work with urban schools in Richmond, California. I do have 2 sworn police officers as subject matter experts and consultants with my company. I brought Mr. Carell Benjamin here, who's also a 1989 alumnus, and he is a sheriff in Florida, and he'll give you his credentials and some of the things he worked on. And I'm going to embarrass him a little bit. He's Mr. Benton Harbor 1989 also. And I was in the court of Mr. Congeniality. What we like to focus on in security, I hear a lot of metal detectors being involved, cameras being involved, things of that nature. However, you can buy the most expensive camera, you can buy the most expensive metal detector, but without a trained security professional, it's all for naught. It's just bills and whistles. Some of the clients that I've worked with in the Bay Area, the Oakland Raiders, the San Francisco 49ers, Cal Berkeley, football games, San Jose State, Super Bowl 50, my company controlled at least 80% of the security for Super Bowl 50 rooms in San Francisco. And what that entailed was processing a lot of people into a secured area as efficiently and safely as possible. So that comes from training my security officers on how to process people from everywhere into a small, restricted, safe area. So I believe we would have no problem if given the opportunity to share what we do here at Benton Harbor area schools as well. Also, as far as speaking of security, a lot of it has to do with the security officers, the staff that works. Security in this type of situation can be looked at as a job, because for a job, you come to a job, you work 8 hours, and you go home. You totally disconnect. We have to make this type of position a career. You don't unplug from a career, you give something to a career. So with that being said, Ascend Security makes sure that we, if given an opportunity, I'm not sure if you guys are looking for a new security company yet, or help with security. However, we offer training and also a pretty nice benefit and a wage package also. So I found that if someone wants your job, you're going to fight to keep your job. And that's just making it attractive. And so I'm pretty much keeping it, we like to call it 100. We have to make sure that the people that we are entrusting to look after our kids' safety are compensated as well. And also, they have a reason to come to work. Medical benefits. I have someone on staff who can assist, if given the opportunity, with finding grants so that if you ever change or needed help with security, then they can help us be as budget neutral as possible. So they would assist as far as grants, other safety grants and stuff like that. So we could come in, there's a lot of evaluations that we would do, and you can see in some of the handouts that we have that would probably help that. So with very small input or financial input from the city, we have someone we could work with, a grant administrator, find a grant that would kind of fund it. And we wouldn't come in looking to get rid of current security. We would focus on the training of security. And after you hear Mr. Benjamin's resume as far as what he does in the Florida area, and then Sergeant Detective Eddie Russell, who's of Richmond, California, he's run a complete school district, and he works with me as well. So we focus on the training, certification, recruitment of quality individuals, and that's on a local level. So we would like to recruit and continue to work with staff who lives here in the area because they know the kids. I'm from the area, so I understand the area. So it's more like they do a community policing, but it's like community security services. I know where you're from. I lived in Holmes Terrace. I lived in River Terrace, in Manhattan. So I understand the area. So I can relate with the kids, and that's very crucial. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Benhart in 1989.
Thank you, sir. Once again, just to follow up with what Mr. Kirkdall said, my name is Correll Vanderman. I graduated from Ben Harbor High School in 1989. I currently am a deputy sheriff in Walton County, Florida. I've been there for 7 years. I operate as a school resource deputy, so I'm kind of the subject matter expert in this area. That's why I'm on board with Chauncey to help him attain his goals. I currently operate as a general instructor for the agency. I teach defensive tactics. I'm a certified ALICE instructor, which is active shooter protocol. I also, as a school resource deputy, I also have trained every school in our school district in the ALICE protocol, which is an acronym that stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, or Evacuate. So every school in our school district is trained on this procedure. Staff, students, whatnot. We can go in and run any sort of various active shooter drills, and they know how to respond. And as you all know, in today's world, that's very important. So if that is an avenue that you want to go with as a school district, we will be here to provide those services for you. Also, we could go and do site surveys for each building in your district and tailor-make security for each building. That's how you make a secure, environment. In my school district, we have great security options. We have what's called secure lobby. And that means every visitor at a school has to press a button. They're video recorded. The secretary sees the video and announces, their presence on the microphone. They're buzzed into the front door. Once they get in the lobby, that entire lobby is bulletproof. The glass that the secretary sits behind is bulletproof, the walls, all that. Once they state their business, then they're buzzed within the school. they're not even in the school, they're in the lobby, so it's a secure lobby. I don't know the actual figures, dollar amount, but it's pretty penny for every school in the district. But we have a software that we use called Rapid. That visitor presents an ID, it's scanned, the computer runs a background check for offender and predator and offenders, sexual offenders. If they come back clean, it prints off a visitor label and they adhere to the chest, then they're buzzed into the school system. So, you know, it's very important security nowadays, and we're just here to lend some service, and I'm here to lend Mr. Kirkdall some services. And any skill set that I have, he's available to my resources. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions at this point for the gentleman? Yes, trustee.
So welcome back. All we appreciate it. So my question would be, even though you have that waiting area, and it's secure,
yes,
do you check my pockets? Because I can still come in with a pistol, right? Whatever weapon I choose, no matter if you know, because once you let me in, my background check is clear. I'm cleared of a sexual predator, felon, you name it. So now I'm in the building. What do you do after that?
Well, we don't currently use metal detectors in our district. But every school in our school district, we have 16 schools. Every school in our school district has 1 or 2 school resource deputies on campus at all times, assigned to the school. So you're right, we don't physically check everyone in, but we also have an armed deputy on campus. And that is our biggest deterrent. Same as security. The biggest deterrent is the sheriff's deputy car out front. Same thing is at home, your security. You don't need the ADT system. You need the stickers and the sign in the front yard. That's kind of the best deterrent.
The only reason why I said that, because in Florida, they have resource officers and they didn't respond. Right?
Yes, sir.
So now if we look at New York is putting metal detectors at the train stations, right? They're checking you. So I kind of like the metal detector too, even with the resource officer, because for example, we went to Gary Schools, I forgot what that was, but we had on the 3rd floor, remember we had the program here? Yeah, New Tech. And so they had the Gary, Indiana police, got the pistol right there, you got to sign in, but she was at the door with the pistol. She wasn't in the school somewhere else. So they did it kind of like you guys did it, but it was just you had to check in with the not the deputy, but the Gary police. So I'm just saying that, you know, I think the metal detectors have their, you know, they have, it's something that we can use, but I like what you presented as well, but we know we don't have the money to do those type of other things.
Right, and I guess I was just mentioning what you could aspire to achieve as a school district. But, you know, you have to crawl before you can walk.
Right.
So starting off with a educated, trained security staff along with metal detectors is a great first step in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yes, trustee McDonald.
What is the size of your company?
For the, I have access to over 130 security professionals. For the Super Bowl, they had a particular party they needed 130 staff. And I provided at the Oakland Coliseum 130 security professionals for them at that time. Our daily staff, as far as contracts, I have over 50 staff that work on a regular basis.
And how long have you been in business?
From security, I've been doing that for over 25 years. Personally, my own security company I've had for about 6 years, personally. However, in regard to security, I'm a former Marine. I did special weapons security in the Marine Corps. From there, I've done federal security work, so I've guarded the Twin Tower, Oakland building, federal buildings, 50 UN building in San Francisco, where we control access to the magnetometers. That's our armed security post. Various retail locations, mobile patrols. I've done pretty much all aspects of security work.
Any more questions for the gentleman? We had, I believe, myself and Ms. Robinson had just talked about the active shooter training. And I know a lot of schools in this district have had it, but Benton Harbor area schools had not had it, and we just had that conversation last week to try to get that implemented within the district for staff and also drills for students, because one of the things is we never think it'll happen a certain place, and the training is very imperative. So that was just a conversation. What about de-escalation and staff learning how to de-escalate situations? Do you all have that training available?
Indeed. I have a whole video library of security officer classes that at the end of the classes that they get certified, and they are trained in verbal judo. And what that basically is, it teaches a security professional, anyone can teach basically, how to de-escalate certain situations. Just by the tones of your voice, the conversation. So most of the things that you encounter as a security professional, you're highly trained and you can speak well to the situation, you can de-escalate it. Especially with kids here in schools, it's knowing the words to use, how to talk to people. And that's, you can look it up, verbal judo, they are trained in that. And also, de-escalation is so important in regard to just knowing how to talk yourself out of a situation, not being aggressive. Listening, you know, whenever someone has a problem, basically they're just asking to be listened to. So that security professional, just understanding that, just listen. You're gonna get to the bottom of the problem if you keep letting them talk, then address that issue. So I'm also Mr. Taylor. I'm big on the magnetometers and the wands, and we have to process over 22,000 sometimes drunk radio fans into the game without incident. And so it's about training. Most of this stuff is all about training, giving the staff the training that they need, so when they're in a situation, they know how to get out of it, or they know how to bring it to a resolve. And that's why I have Mr. Benjamin and also Mr. Russell, both trained in active shooter drills, both have a lot of experience. Mr. Russell has over 20 years of experience in Richmond, California. Probably look at the demographics of Richmond, California, Meering, Benton Harbor, almost step for step in some areas. So I have trained, competent staff.
Thank you. There's no more questions. You've given your information to Assistant Superintendent, and you've given your contact information, I believe, to the Assistant Superintendent, if not, would you please? And then they will give it forward. So if you all will do that, we appreciate it. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do the presentation and your concern for the safety of our students in our district. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Next item on the agenda is item number 14, and that will be technology update and what you have not already presented to us.
So I have to take just a couple seconds to commend Mr. Churchill on your phenomenal job. I don't know if you can see those, but they are phenomenal. So I couldn't go without saying that, I'm sorry. Now everyone else is here. So during the month of February, we did put out the telecommunications RFP, you guys know about that. We did have, today was the day that the intent to bid was due, and I'm excited that it looks like we're gonna have at least probably somewhere between 7 and 10 vendors that will be bidding, so I'm really looking forward to that. We had 12 of them attend the pre-bid meeting that was held last week. We had a lot of good questions and made a lot of clarifications for them. We continue to meet their needs as questions and things arise, and let them want to do walkthroughs of our buildings, because there is a paging system that's part of our telecommunications system. As you guys, you talked about when you had your training for the parent portal, you talked a little bit about my school data. So I'm happy to say that we are making progress. The our Power School is now attached to the Michigan Data Hub, which then in turn is going to allow us to take advantage of MyLearn. I don't know if you guys have heard about MyLearn, so I did link what it does there. It will be a good resource for our parents to be able to get their students' scores. We are working right now to set up a new speech station at MLK to service our special ed students. We are also working on putting together a professional development plan for the IT department. So we do a lot of professional development in the district around teachers and paras and those staff that touch students on a day-to-day basis. But technology is that field that changes in a blink of an eye sometimes. So I'm working on putting together a plan for my department that will allow us to stay up to date on current trends and new products that are coming out, so that we can make sure that we're making the best decisions when we get to the point of needing a new product or a refresh of a system. So it's important that we continue our learning instead of getting kind of up on our heels. So we're working on that. E-rate bids have been received and most of them have been awarded. We are kind of holding off on one based on the phone bid. This includes these are just normal things that happen year to year. So this is our cell phone contract. Our internet service is a longer contract that happens typically every 3 to 5 years. And our PRI phone lines, that's the contract we are holding off right now because I don't know if we go 100% voice over IP phones. I'm not sure. Depending on the system, we may not need the PRI lines, which will then save us some money. And I do think, like I said, I think that we can eliminate a couple of those lines. Something was caught last year in a different AT&T contract. They told us all of the addresses that our Centrex lines were going to, and there were probably 10 addresses that we either A, didn't own, or we couldn't identify that we ever owned. So we had those removed from that contract, and so it's just doing that contract cleanup. But we've closed buildings, but we've never updated some of the contracts for this stuff as time went on. So we're continuing to do that. We did deploy a new wireless network with a higher level of security, so we are looking at phasing out the old network. The old network got hacked, and it didn't have as good a security as we wanted, so we created a new network with higher security. We've been moving most of the devices that were on the old network were printers and projectors and things like that, not new devices. So we have now gotten to the point where we can start shutting down the old network. Everyone's pretty happy to get their phones on. And something I'm doing new this year that hasn't been done in the past is I'm meeting one-on-one with the building leadership. And we are working on a plan together on how to spend their Title I tech money. Just because out in that arena more and seeing what is coming down in technology and education. And they don't have the ability to do that. So I'm offering my skill set to have those conversations with them and then maybe create that 3 to 5 year plan for technology and using title money for each one. And so far, the conversations have been really good. So I'm really excited how this is going, and I will continue to do that year after year. And we are always continuing to order parts. As machines get damaged, we have to order parts. So we're just doing that, and as the parts come in, we'll fix the machines and get them back out in the buildings as quickly as possible. So that's where we're at now. Any questions?
Yes, trustee, David.
I have a question concerning our fiber.
Yes.
So we know we have X amount of strands.
Mm-hmm.
Are we renting or leasing out some of that fiber?
Right now, we are not. So this has been a discussion that I've had with several companies. And I think it's time, everyone wants to use our fiber, but they want to use it for free so that they can make money off of it. So I think it's getting all of the pieces in the right place because we don't want to become an ISP or an internet service provider. I don't think that requires a lot of management and when people pay their bills, then you've got to go after them. I mean, there's just a lot to that end of things. But if we can partner with somebody that already has those skills or already does that, then I think it's more lucrative for us. Leasing things out, I think absolutely is a possibility. And I've started some of those conversations. It's just making sure that we're diligent in keeping the time to continue those conversations. I keep telling everyone my wish for Benton Harbor is that we create our fiber network so that every student that comes to Benton Harbor will have a device that connects to the internet no matter where they are in the city. And when they're not a student in Benton Harbor, then we will have the ability to be able to shut that service off to that device. And because that device should come back to the school if they're not a student. Now, this is a lofty goal. This is not something that I can go to another city and say, so exactly how are you doing this? So this is something that it's big and there's a lot of moving parts and partners and things like that need to happen to make something like that come to fruition. But I don't think it's so far out in the year 2018 that we can't start laying some of that.
And I think we should because, we're the biggest player in the game right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's not another player. So I like to be the big dog, right? So if I'm the big dog and we're a cash-strapped district, this is a way for us to create resources, right, for the school. And so I think this is something, a line item that we really need to think about because nobody else around, period, has this much fiber. We do. So you guys think about that, right? We can, it's a way to create a business within a business and cut some of this debt down.
I think this is not the first conversation that we've had concerning that. And I think we've had on the technology committee, I think you brought that up when you were senior president, so I do think it's time to consider what that would look like. Are there any more questions for Ms. Lovelace? And we do see a RFP.
I just gave you the telecommunications RFP. I gave it to you last month. Sorry, it's slow. I gave it to you last month just as you could see it before it went out. And just in case, so you didn't have to go back to last month's minutes or last month's agenda, I just stuck it there again so you could read it. But it's out there. It's active. It's out there.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we are going to wait for the resolution on school gun control. There's just going to be some rewording in that language. Right now on the agenda under board business, we are going to do an achievement resolution. And I'd like to, have, Ms. Gully, if she would, read the achievement resolution. We have all board members have signed, except Mr. Mitchell had to leave, and trustee Gass, but we will make sure that this achievement resolution is signed by all board members.
Felicia Harvey, it is with great honor that we, the Benton Harbor Area Schools Boards of Education, acknowledge your leadership, hard work, dedication, and achievements. Achievement accolades, a record of 83 wins, participant in the 2015 Final Four, 2015 Regional Champs, 2014 and 2015 District Champs, 2013 Big 16 Conference Champs, 2015 Marion County Coach of the Year, 2015 Regional Coach. Achievements of 2 All-Americans, 1 Gatorade Michigan POY, a 2 USA Today Michigan POY, 1 Miss Basketball, 4 Basketball Scholarship Achievements, 1 WSJM Achievement of the Year, 2 Marion County Female Athletes of the Year, Michigan Detroit Athletic Club Athletic Athlete of the Year, 5 WSJM Players of the Week, Michigan's 2nd all-time leading scorer. Coach of the Year, 3 valedictorians, 1 salutatorian, 11 top 10 graduates, 2 Miss Benton Harbor Queens, and 1 Miss Blossom Time. Congratulations, Ms. Harvey, for your achievements.
Thank you, Vice President Gully. Thank you to all of you. And we can get back to the other board members. That's next item on the agenda is the collaboration, partnership agreement, trustee Mom. Collaboration partnership agreement update, trustee Mom.
We're all set right now. We took care of what we needed to last week when we made some decisions on when we reviewed our survey and made decisions on what we're going to work on this next year.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is comments, and I have been asked by several people to what is the update concerning the investigation, and I do have a statement to read tonight, and for individuals that are concerned. The Benton Harbor School Board is committed to the academic success of all of our students and financial stability of our district. We are collaborating with the Michigan Department of Education and our community partners to ensure that we effectively implement the partnership agreement in our schools. We're also working with the Michigan Department of Treasury to ensure that we fulfill the requirements of the consent agreement. And most importantly, we are using all information received from people that in the public that we have received, our constituents, and the ongoing investigation to ensure that our students learn in a safe and productive learning environment. School board represents your voice, which is why we are committed to excellence and setting the standard for the future of Benton Harbor schools, and that is on behalf of the Benton Harbor School Board. And for those that are concerned, we are doing due diligence. Thank you. And now it is the Assistant Superintendent's comments. No comment at this time. Board member comments, starting with Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Madam President. Kudos again to alumni, because it's always good to see people come back and show the world that Benton Harbor Area School, we have great minds all across this country, so thank you for coming. Also, an update, the Tech Tigers, our robotics club, we placed 31st out of 40. This is a brand new team this year. We only had 2 people return from last year, so they performed well. Great attitude, great performance of helping other students, so I'm so proud of them. This week we go off to Gull Lake to do it again, right? So thanks to the board for approving the trip. That's it for me.
Thank you, Trustee McGowan. Trustee Mommy.
in our conversations tonight about where we're standing academically, one of the conversations that has been said over and over is our lack of being able to get qualified teachers, having to use subs. Our Michigan legislators are looking at passing legislation that would allow retired teachers to come back and substitute, which means they can do long-term substitutes, and it would not affect their retirement. We need to start as a district, as a board, we need to start becoming politically active to fight for things like that. And I have said it before, I mean, there are things in place where, say a math teacher that's retired might be able to come back. There's certain teaching positions you can come back. There are exceptions where they're allowed to come back because there's a high need in that area. And we need to maybe start pushing legislatures to look at making something referred to urban districts. That's a high needs area, like say a math teacher is, and maybe we need to start suggesting that our legislators say, okay, in urban districts, those are high needs teachers, they can come back and won't affect their retirement, not just as substitutes, but come back as full-time employees. It's time that we get active because teacher shortages are all across the nation, but they're in particular in Michigan and especially in Benton Harbor. So think about it. I'm not fond of becoming politically active, but if it means that we can get what we need for our kids, then I guess I have to step out of my comfort zone.
Trustee Gully.
Look, the state will forgive our debt and we can have those teachers. But that's another conversation. So it's been a long night. I've been here since 5 of public forum. And I do appreciate everyone who came out and, have provided input on the moving of the buildings and transitioning some of the children. And we definitely want stability for our kids. And I know our main focus is their education and also their safety. So those are things that we as a board do consider in every decision that we make. And with lack of input, sometimes we may not have all things that are of concerns that need to be considered. But I do appreciate the input that we received tonight that we can move forward with and making our decision for next school year. I appreciate Mr. Scott's presentation. We had not heard from the curriculum department, so it was a good insight as to where we're at as far as where we're going with test scores and what areas of improvement we need so that our decisions can be more in tune with what the student needs are. And to have those monthly updates is going to be very important moving forward because, we can have that two-way communication, knowing that what we're doing here is going to benefit what's going on in your day-to-day jobs. I appreciate ASEAN Security reaching out and wanting to come back to help our district because we all know that we do have security problems. What we're currently doing, what we think we're doing right, may need some improvements. So, we have to consider that. We have to take a look at things that aren't working for our district. And that's the number one reason why some people don't come. They leave because that's their concern. Is my child safe? Is my child going to be bullied? Is my child going to be jumped? You know what I'm saying? They don't want that for their child. They want their child to be in an environment that's conducive for learning. So I appreciate them reaching out and coming and following Benton Harbor, staying true to the orange and the black. I don't know if they made a game last night. It was packed out, but it was a good game. And the Tigers won, and they will play again on tomorrow at 7 at Kelowna. I think they played Wajak. So, there's another alumni that's the coach of the Wajak game, Hunt. So it'll be like the battle of the orange and black, because they're orange and black as well. So I don't know if the tickets are sold out or what, but hopefully I don't know. But I appreciate everybody staying the night with us for this meeting and please provide your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board announcements? Any board announcements?
You look at me like.
I don't know, I know, we just made asking questions. So we, again, would like to thank and, appreciate Dr. Scott being with us and everybody. So I will entertain at this time a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion as the president to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I need a support. I have a motion and a support. Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll, please.
Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Allen. Yes. Ms. Conley, yes. Ms. Bowden. Yes. Ms. Six.
Yes. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.